And another one. Henderson's in trouble. Henderson slides under. Silva looking to finish. He caught him with a big knee.
Are you ready to relive the epic journey of one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time? From his incredible comebacks to his unforgettable fights, Anderson Silva's rise to the top of the MMA world is one for the ages. Join me as we take a deep dive into the career of this legendary fighter and discover what made him a true champion. From the highs to the lows, we'll explore it all and relive the moments that made Anderson Silva a household name in the world of combat sports. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to witness the rise of Anderson Silva.
Seen in MMA. Nice leg kick by Irvin.
And Irvin's in trouble already.
That's
Silva trying to finish it.
Done.
Just like that.
Background: Anderson Silva, born on April 14, 1975, is a Brazilian mixed martial artist who is widely regarded as one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. Silva began training in martial arts at a young age, earning a black belt in Taekwondo at the age of 18. He later went on to train in Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and boxing, becoming a well-rounded fighter with a diverse skill set. Anderson Silva, one of the most legendary fighters in the history of MMA, started his career on June 25, 1997 at the age of 22. His debut match was against Raimundo Pinheiro, which was a spectacular display of his grappling prowess. Despite being taken down, Anderson quickly turned the tables on Pinheiro and locked in a rear naked choke, forcing him to tap. Later that same night, Anderson took on Fabricio Campos in a grueling fight. Campos was eating a lot of shots and was taken down outside of the ring, leading to his retirement by TKO. Silva's talent was soon recognized as he was granted the opportunity to fight for the Shudo middleweight championship against the reigning champion, Hayato Sakurai. Although Sakurai had his moments on the ground, Silva was the aggressor in both striking and grappling, ultimately winning by unanimous decision and becoming the new middleweight champion. Finally, a match against Daijo Tekasi, Silva faced an opponent with a losing record, but was no less challenging. After feeling each other out on the feet, Tekasi secured a takedown. But Silva remained active on the ground, attempting submissions. Unfortunately, Silva got caught in a triangle choke that forced him to submit, but his record remained impressive nonetheless. On New Year's Eve in 2004, Anderson returned to Pride to take on Rio Chonin. The fight was back and forth for most of the match, but in the final round, Rio went for a flying Caesar heel hook, forcing Anderson to tap out.
Oh, look at this! Whoa, this is good!
Despite the loss, the finish was one of the most impressive of Anderson's career. In the opening round bout of the Rumble on the Rock welterweight tournament, Anderson faced off against Yushin Okami. After landing some shots on the feet and denying most of the takedowns, Anderson got taken down.
Finally gets a little bit of a takedown, and now, how about this? This is where Okami wants to fight.
He has to be, but you look at some...
While off his back, he connected with a heel kick to Okami's face, instantly hurting him.
Knocks him out, that's it! High kick from his back, lands by Anderson.
However, the ref stopped the fight as Okami was a grounded opponent, resulting in a disqualification defeat for Anderson. Returning to Cage Ridge to defend his belt against Tony Freakland, Anderson dominated Tony on the feet with punches and knees, and then, out of nowhere, he connected with a reverse elbow that knocked Tony out cold.
World dominance here as champion.
Oh,
and it's over.
Reverse elbow. Superb.
This is why this man is middleweight.
The Brazilian fighter signed with the UFC in April of 2006, and he made his debut just a couple of months later in June. It was a stunning start for Anderson, who took on former WBC middleweight champion Chris Leben. Chris came at Anderson with all his might, but he quickly realized he was no match for the newcomer. Anderson took him down with a knee that knocked him out, marking a victorious start to his UFC journey.
Leben goes down again at the debut of
The winner by knockout, Anderson the Spider!
That win earned Anderson a shot at the UFC middleweight champion, Rich Franklin. In their first meeting, Anderson made his mark with big knees in the clinch that took Rich down. He followed it up with a kick and more knees, forcing the referee to call the fight and declare Anderson the new UFC middleweight champion.
UFC middleweight champion of the world.
Anderson's reign began with a non-title bout against Travis Lotter at UFC 67, who missed weight. But it didn't stop Anderson from putting on an impressive performance. He locked up a triangle choke and threw elbows to the head of Travis, forcing him to tap.
This is straining Anderson Silva.
There's the tap.
No. Wait. Victorious. Wow.
At UFC 82, Anderson fought former Pride welterweight and middleweight champion Dan Henderson. Dan looked promising in round 1, but Anderson proved his striking prowess with a barrage of strikes that dropped Dan.
Anderson drags him down, pulls guard. And that's a testament to the versatility of Dan Henderson.
Anderson then finished him off with a rare naked choke.
Looking to choke out
Dan is in
Henderson.
deep trouble. Wow.
Anderson Silva remains the UFC middleweight.
4 months later, Anderson moved up to light heavyweight for the first time in the UFC. He took on James Irvin in a non-title bout, and it was a quick one. Anderson dropped James with a right hand and followed it up with ground and pound before the referee stopped the fight. However, at UFC 112, Anderson's performance against Damian Maia drew criticism from many. Though Anderson won by unanimous decision, he circled around and taunted Damian for most of the fight, with very little action happening.
Oh, there's a board. He is watermark. He is the bench.
Even UFC President Dana White expressed his disappointment and embarrassment with the fight, stating it was the most embarrassed he had ever been since becoming the president. He wanted to give Anderson an opponent that he really believed would be a test, which was against Chael Sonnen, a fighter known for his trash-talking and bravado. Sonnen was handpicked by Silva's manager to give him a real challenge, and the build-up to the fight was intense. Sonnen wasn't afraid to use his words to get under Silva's skin, and he did just that in the lead-up to their bout. When the two finally stepped into the octagon, it was clear that Sonnen had come to fight. He stunned Silva on the feet early on and secured a takedown, where he unleashed a barrage of ground and pound.
He's got him down. Look at it. Anderson got him down. Chael Sonnen.
This wrestling narrative continued for rounds 2 to 4, and it looked like Silva was in serious trouble.
And over again. He's getting punished by Chael Sonnen. Big seconds. Oh, big shot. Big one. Where can he put on Silva? Oh, my.
He needed a finish in the final round to win, and after getting dropped by punches, it seemed like there was going to be a new UFC middleweight champion.
The shot. Good elbow. Big shot again. Nice.
But with just 2 minutes left in the fight, Silva locked up a triangle armbar that forced Sonnen to tap out.
Rosenthal has stepped in. What is going on here? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
It was one of the greatest comebacks in MMA history, and Silva revealed after the fight that he had entered it with a cracked rib. 6 months later, Silva fought Yushin Okami for the second time, and it was also his first fight back in Brazil in over 7 years. He delivered a dominant performance that saw him drop Okami with a right hand before finishing him with ground and pound.
Strikes, Mike.
Big elbow to the midsection.
This fight's gonna be stopped right now.
But the fight that everyone was waiting for was the rematch with Sonnen, which finally took place at UFC 148. The buildup was huge, and the bad blood between the two fighters was at an all-time high. It was a legacy-defining fight for both of them, and it attracted 925,000 pay-per-view buys, making it Silva's biggest fight up to that point. The first round went down like the majority of the first fight, with Sonnen securing an early takedown and maintaining top control. But in the second round, he threw a spinning back fist that caused him to fall to the mat, and Silva capitalized by connecting with a knee to the body, followed by punches that forced the referee to step in.
Chael's in trouble. Anderson Silva remains the UFC middleweight champion.
One of Silva's most memorable fights came at UFC 162, where he faced Chris Weidman. While Weidman had a good start, securing an early takedown,
Deep shot, and he's got him down. Very nicely done. Wow,
Silva looked comfortable enough to begin taunting his opponent. However, in the second round, Weidman connected with a left hand that dropped Silva, leading to a ground-and-pound finish.
Looking to finish it! It is all over! Chris Weidman!
Despite the loss, Silva received an immediate rematch against Weidman and was still the favorite to win. However, Weidman once again had a good first round, almost finishing Silva before the fight ended in a brutal way.
Looking to finish the fight. Chris Weidman all over Silva. Can he do it again? Or can Anderson survive?
Weidman checked a kick from Silva, shattering his tibia and fibula in what was one of the most gruesome injuries in UFC history.
Oh, nice. He checked it. No. He hurt his leg. And it is all over.
He broke his leg. Anderson fractured his leg. You can see his leg.
Many believed that this injury would be the end of Silva's fighting career. But a year later, he returned to the octagon to face former Strikeforce welterweight champion Nick Diaz. While the fight was interesting, with Diaz taunting Silva throughout, the action never picked up.
Whoa, look
Anderson
at this.
stepped in and connected.
I'll tell you what, man, that kind of trash talking can mess with your head.
Silva won by unanimous decision, but soon after, it was revealed that he had failed his drug test, testing positive for anabolic steroids. Despite blaming the failed test on sexual enhancement and sleeping pills, Silva was suspended for a year, fined $380,000, and his win against Diaz was overturned to a no contest. In February 2016, when he stepped into the ring against Michael Bisping, despite getting dropped early on by punches,
Anderson goes down for a second. Good uppercut from Michael Bisping.
Anderson nearly finished the fight at the end of round 3 with a flying knee.
He's waiting for an opportunity to put that in. Michael's distracted by the referee, and as soon as that happens, Anderson jumps forward and lands.
Unfortunately, the fight continued for 2 more rounds, and both men went back and forth on their feet, with Michael ultimately winning by unanimous decision. One of Anderson's most memorable fights was against Israel Adesanya at UFC 234. It was a fun matchup, as both fighters have very similar styles, which made for an awesome battle on their feet.
See, there's that question mark kick that I was talking about. And he's getting Anderson to bite on the feints. He fakes. And now Anderson's chasing.
Although Anderson had his moments, the younger, stronger, and faster fighter in Israel put on a performance that proved he is worthy to carry on the torch.
Silva trying to navigate distance, is able to avoid that left kick. Just barely, says Adesanya.
After 3 rounds, Israel won by unanimous decision. At UFC 237, Anderson fought Jared Cannonier, but he lost in the first round after going down from a leg kick.
Oh, okay, that hurt Silva and immediately hurt Diaz.
17 months later, Anderson fought Uriah Hall, and in the 4th round, Anderson got dropped by a right hand and ground and pound that forced Herb Dean to step in.
Survival mode. Nice work by Uriah Hall. They're good shots.
Big right hands. Got to be close to the end.
With 3 losses in a row, the UFC released him from his contract, and at 45 years old, Anderson's future in the sport remains uncertain. Despite his recent struggles, Anderson's phenomenal career should not be overshadowed. He went 34-11 with 1 no contest in his career and was a force to be reckoned with in his prime. Anderson Silva will always be remembered as one of the greatest fighters to ever grace the octagon. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more MMA content.
I've ever seen in MMA. Nice leg kick by Urban.
And Urban's in trouble already.
That's
Silva trying to finish it.
He's done.
Just like that.
Wow.